says the sheriff shall, in a locality without a police department, provide primary law enforcement. They shall operate a jail. The sheriff shall secure the courts, and they shall serve civil process papers. That's what the Constitution of Virginia says the sheriff shall do. We go far beyond the scope of what our required duties are. In fact, at full staff, we have 261 employees at the Henry County Sheriff's Office. We provide primary law enforcement, which means we answer your 911 calls, but under that umbrella, we have a patrol division, we have a narcotics investigations division, we have a general criminal investigations division who looks into felony crimes and more serious crimes. We have school resource officers in every school in Henry County. We think that's a great tool. We have local code enforcement deputies. We have a drug interdiction unit. We run the full gamut. We do it all here at the Henry County Sheriff's Office. In addition to that, we operate the Henry County Adult Detention Center. We serve the civil process papers, tens of thousands of those a year. We secure the courts, and we have an animal services division. We also have formerly known as animal control under the umbrella of the Sheriff's Office. So we have a lot of things going on day in and day out. Like I said, at full staff, 261 employees, and it's because of the hard work of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office that we get what we accomplish done. And sometimes it's quite a feat, but I couldn't be more proud of the team I have. You know, as a sheriff, you know, I have visions and goals. It's these hard-working men and women that make it happen. As everyone knows, our primary bread and butter that we focused on is removing drug dealers from your community. I've had people say, why do you put so much effort into drug dealers? Because nearly every other crime that we deal with a few exceptions, such as domestic incidents, derive from narcotics. When somebody comes to your home and breaks in and steals your TV, it's most likely because they were looking to feed a drug habit. When somebody steals the Rules and Clubs lawnmower, it's probably because they were looking to fuel a drug habit. When people go to Walmart or Lowe's and shoplift, most likely, not every time, it's because they're looking to fuel a drug addiction. And so people don't even realize how impactful that is when people go to places, big box stores, CVS or anywhere else, and shoplift. When Walmart, and I don't even know the latest statistic, at one point our Walmart here in Martinsville was losing over $1 million worth of inventory annually to shoplift. Well, all that goes to support drug habits. Well, guess who pays that $1 million? We do. So I guess for lack of better terms, when we look to remove the drug dealer, we're trying our best to remove the problem at its source. And so we're not going to get them all, but we're darn sure going to try. And if we're not working on that, we got so many other crimes to solve. Those collateral crimes that occurred, break-ins, thefts, larcenies, domestics. One thing that goes unnoticed a lot is our investigative team spends a lot of time seeking out child predators. And so we don't want those people in our communities either. They're worse than drug dealers, in my opinion. They're just oftentimes more difficult to detect. So we have a number of deputies who dedicate a fair amount of time to removing child predators from our community. And what we found is not oftentimes are they even from our community. They seek to prey on children from our community. So we have to work diligently to maintain that front to keep our youth safe. And other than that, the most recent news of the Sheriff's Office is we will make our debut on Patrol Live this weekend. So 3 million viewers per episode. Henry County will be worldwide.
Who's your first star?
So I had to agree to do like 40% of the episodes. So. Other than that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Wagner, who is an absolute fraud and computer specialist, and he's going to update you. We could literally, frauds are so prevalent now, and they prey upon so many people in our community. We could talk about this till the sun comes up. There's no humanly way we can touch on every fraud out there. We're going to give you some generalized information. I could probably tell you this and just send you home. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And if you just follow that advice, we can move on, but he's gonna cover some of the ways that they convince you to give up money that you otherwise would not have. And then I'll follow up on that, and we'll answer any questions you have at the end.
Again, thank you all for all letting us come tonight. My name is Mike Wagner. I've been in the Sheriff's Office a little over 21 years. My heart and passion has been in investigations, so I stay up to date now. About a year ago, the Sheriff created a job position for the community engagement where we go out and we educate the public of what we know. Part of that is on scams, and every day they're changing. If I was to take a poll around the room, how many people got a phone call today was a scam, 90% of you is going to raise your hand. About once a week, my mom calls about a scam, and I'm like, no, Mom, it's a scam. So we're doing two things to tell you about. The Community Engagement Division, we're going to places like this to educate people on the current scams, because sometimes these people are so well spoken, it looks too good to be true, and so they fall for these scams. And one of the questions I get wherever I go, why aren't we stopping these scams? We have investigators working daily with federal agencies and different agencies to stop them. The problem is a lot of these are starting in other countries like Nigeria and stuff, and time the federal government gets to where they're at, they've moved to somewhere else, so it's a revolving door. So there's scams that happen once a day in Henry County, sometimes 10 times a day. One of the biggest scams that's real scary in our community, if you do a quick Google search of my name, just Michael Wagner, Henry County Sheriff's Office, a lot of information shows up about me, the stuff I've done over the years. So somebody could impersonate me by just calling you and saying, hey, I'm Mike Wagner with all this information. So one thing that's happening, we want to let people know that people are impersonating deputies at the Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Hudson's deputy lieutenant over our court services. Somebody was impersonating him, calling people in Henry County saying, hey, I'm Lieutenant Hudson, you've missed jury duty. They're like, oh my gosh, I missed jury duty. And the scammer follows up with, well, we can rectify that situation. You can just pay the fine today, save you some trouble. It's only $50. So these people, victims, were like, well, if it's just $50, I'll pay it and move on. But the scammers are not interested in the $50. They're interested in your check information or your credit card information, whatever you utilize to pay that. So one big thing we want to make sure that everybody knows, nobody from the Sheriff's Office will ever, under any circumstances, call and ask for money over the telephone. If Mike Wagner calls you and you're not 100% sure it's me, hang up the phone, call the dispatch center back, call the Sheriff's Office, and call the verified number. Has anybody in here got that scam?
Yeah.
About impersonating a deputy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's happening more and more, and we've worked diligently with the Secret Service, FBI, to get those shut down, but they continue to pop up. And then, so part of us going out and educating, we're also going to these stores. A lot of these scammers, if any of y'all's ever got that far, they won't want money, they want you to give them gift cards. And part of the reason they want those gift cards is because they're non-traceable, like Green Dot. You can't trace it back to where it actually originated from, who sent the money. So we're going to these stores and saying, if somebody comes in and buying $500 worth of gift cards, just ask them, hey, are you sending that money to somebody you know? So just make sure you're never sending gift card money to somebody you've never physically met over the telephone. So another one that's two big ones that people are getting daily is text message scams about tolls and packages. Anybody in here got one of those today?
Yeah.
FedEx. So number one thing, and if you look on that paper I gave you, it says slow down, verify before you act. If you hadn't ordered a package, you're probably not going to be getting text message tracking of that package. So I would just not click that link at all. I would remove it and delete it, move on with life. The next one's about tolls. You may even have a picture of a car that looks like yours, because there's a lot of public databases out there. If I was to search my name, Michael Wagner, if I pay taxes and stuff, my property that I pay taxes on and stuff is public information, so they use computer software to find out all this. So they may send you stuff that's similar to yours. Like they're not going to know your tag number and stuff. So if you get a toll text that says, hey, I went through a toll in West Virginia, you owe a fine, and you've never been to West Virginia, I would delete it and move on. But secondly, if you have been there, just call and verify on anything there is. The three things with scammers that they're going to make you do is feel like you're rushed, feel like that you have to act now and feel like it's 100% all that's ever been targeted these scams, but getting that phone call, they'll make you feel really rushed, not give you time to call somebody else. So just make sure that to verify if you get any of these calls or text messages. There's another horrible scam going around that I hate to even talk about because it's sad that people will go to this level. But, it goes hand in hand with two different things. I always tell people, parents, they love their grandkids way more than they ever love their kids. So there are people that are calling and saying, hey, your grandchild or your grandson has been in a car accident or in the hospital, and be like, know their name, know their information. And they're getting that from just public databases. And people will act and send money so fast. So we try to tell people, if somebody is in the hospital or in a car accident, there's no state that is going to deny them medical treatment before payment. So never send money, even if you think one of your loved ones is in a car accident or injured. Verify it first. Pick up the phone and call them. And these scams I'm talking about are 100% true scams that has happened. And the next big one that some of y'all may have got the call from, it happened recently, is burial plots. Somebody will call and impersonate, and I don't want to say this, just say funeral home A, and say, hey, we've got burial plots, and we know you don't want to leave anything to your family to take care of. We've got a special right now. You buy one, it's like $1,000, but you don't have to pay anything. You can pay $50 a month. The scammers are not worried about the payment. They want the credit card information that you give them or the check number that you give them. So that's what they're truly worried about. So if, say, Funeral Home A, a funeral home in Martinsville or anywhere calls you about something like that, say, yeah, I'm interested, but hang up the phone and call back a verified number that you know is directly to that funeral home. These unsolicited calls, there's too much chance for scammers. So we always tell people if there's any doubt, call and verify directly. And then the last one I really want to talk about is like online scams. I had a family member call me probably 3 months ago, and it was something on Facebook, and they're scrolling along, and it was an item, and they're like, hey, it says I only got 2 hours to buy this. Will you order it for me? Like, it's too good to be true. It's a scam. You can't order that. And it was hard to make them believe that it was a scam because it was so cheap, it was so urgent, it all looked real. If you're scrolling Facebook or any type of social media, and when you get to these and you click on something, if it tells you to log into your account that you're already logged into, stop what you're doing, close out the app. Do not put your username and password in again, because that's the scammers trying to get your information. I've done it as a test at the racetrack. I created a QR code and stuck it up on the wall to see how many people would scan it. I didn't scam anybody, but it was just a test to count how many people scanned that unknown QR code. No writing, nothing. I think 172 people just scanned a random QR code. Put some other information, and if I can do it, I know these scammers can, some random information to capture information, say, hey, I need you to put in your username and password to be able to view this, make it look like Facebook or any other social media app. So many people do that. So just remember, your username and password should only be utilized when you know you're directly going to this app. If you're on Instagram or you're on Facebook and you're already in it, there's no need to log in again. Stop, close it out, start over. There's just one more thing I want to talk about, but has anybody got any questions on scams, any scams y'all been a part of, y'all want to discuss before we move on any further? Yes, ma'am.
What about if somebody calls you on the phone and wants donations for the police department?
So, Henry, first, what I highly recommend people do first, when they call and they say, hey, I'm collecting donations from Henry County Sheriff's Office, ask them the address and who the sheriff is first. And if they can't know, that's number one. But then number two, just say, hey, the sheriff's office never calls and asks for money over the telephone. So that's a 100% scam. Block the number, move on. The Virginia Sheriff's Association will ask for donations, but you letter in the mail, Sheriff Davis's picture on it. If any of y'all want, I can pull it up on Facebook. I actually have the actual flyer that's going out by the Virginia Sheriff's Association throughout Henry County. I have a copy of it if anybody wants it digitally that I can share with you, the exact flyer you will receive.
Let me expand it. It's two organizations, the Virginia Sheriff's Association and the Virginia Sheriff's Institute. We are a member of the Sheriff's Office of both of those. However, they have two different purposes. Virginia Sheriff's Institute is a nonprofit organization that supports training and community programs such as the scholarship that we advertised earlier this year for high school students. The Virginia Sheriff's Association is a political lobbyist group. At the end of the day, all sheriffs are elected officials, so politics are involved. I sit on the board of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, where we go to Richmond, where we lobby for what laws we feel like best protects the Commonwealth. So it's two different organizations. You could receive a letter from either of those, but if you do, either one will have my picture, and no one from either one of those organizations or the sheriff's office will ever call your phone, ever.
Anybody else have any questions about scams? Did that answer your question?
The big thing is robocalls. When you get the robocall, and it's the National Organization for the Advancement of Blue Patrol, and the guy will go right into the spiel, the robot.
Yep.
And you'll get believing it. My wife's done it, that's the reason why. And she got him all the way to the information where she actually got a live person. But you couldn't understand what he was saying, so she hung up on him. But that's the robocalls are the big one. So change the phone number and call you back 8 times.
Yeah, and somebody asked earlier, like, what do we do about these numbers that keep calling? It's very difficult, and I'll tell you this first. How many people's been through Bojangles drive-thru in Collinsville? It is all 100% AI ordering, and it's scary. It's very accurate. You could order different sauces and everything. And I say that they're using that same technology of AI and almost human instinct to make these phone calls. An AI person, not real computer, will start that conversation with you, and then when they get somebody on the hook, that's when it's transferred to a real person, and they'll try to further it to get and scam you. And it's so back to kind of like, how do you stop it? There is really no way 100% to stop it. One way to stop it is like most phone carriers now have an option to block unknown calls. The only problem with that is we all have doctor's appointments, we all have different services that we need, and we want them to be able to call us. So it's tough. So the biggest thing that I can tell people, what I've learned, is not interact. If you pick up and you know it's a scammer, hang up, move on. They're not going to call me 10 times and keep calling if I never answer the phone or never interact with them. I have 2 different phones. One phone gets all the time scammers, because I don't know my work phone. People scam all the time because I answer every call that comes through. My personal phone, if somebody calls and I don't know the number, I normally let them leave a message, then I call them back. So I don't get near as many scammers on that phone.
The one that I get is, your loan for $150,000 has been approved. Please call so
Yep.
that we can verify that it's you and get the money to you.
How many people's got to call about a Medicare supplement this week? So that's probably the toughest one there is, because there's real companies out there. And like, it was almost everybody in this room, but there's real companies that will sell you that supplement. But there's also half of those people that are calling you are scammers.
Yep.
So the easiest way that I tell people not to fall victim of a scam is to verify. If somebody's trying to sell you something and you say, hey, I need to call you back, and they say, well, let me give you the number. Say, no, sir, no, ma'am, I have the number. I'll call you back and get this service. Look up a direct number to them and then call them back. If Henry County Sheriff's Office calls and I say, hey, I'm Wayne Davis, I'm selling these candy bars, and you wanted to buy one, the right thing to do would be call and say, hey, I need to speak to Wayne Davis because he's selling candy bars on a number that you know. But the same principle how these scammers work, they just pick things that are vulnerable to people. Older people, they use their grandchildren and children as a crutch to get to them faster, and they make it almost that sense of urgency for you to want to act on.
The problem I have with it is you hang up on, and it'll be another call with a local number, and you hang up, and there'll be one from Arizona, and they have a multitude of numbers that they call back on.
Yeah.
Once you engage with someone from there, they make a connection with you. They make you feel like, oh, they're your best friend. And your money's getting gone. Because that's a big thing up in Michigan. We just took our phone numbers down and then turned them over to the Attorney General.
Yeah, and so many times it's so moving so fast, and technology is moving so fast, they'll generate millions of different numbers a day. And this was a huge one that I got pulled up here on the screen here. If you use a computer, everybody's computer starts getting slow, and they all think they have a virus or a bug. If anybody, I know it's hard to see here, but that's an Office 365 logo. I'll zoom in. Everybody probably would know that logo is Microsoft. So if you look at this email, it says high security alert has been triggered. And then it says severity high. Thank you, Office 365 team. So then you may get an email like this, then a couple days later, you get a phone call, say, hey, we noticed your computer's running slow with Microsoft. Would you like us to get that speeded up for you? Would you like us to check it for spyware, malware? And you're like, sure. Then you allow them to log into your computer. They have access to everything on there once you allow it. You have to allow it by they'll ask you, say, hey, I'm going to send you an email or, send you a link, and you have to click on it. If that ever happens and you want to use that company's services, I highly recommend don't go with that unsolicited phone call. Hang up, call the same company back or a different company and say, hey, this is what I need, and it will keep you from being a victim of a scam.
Cut the computer completely off, it'll go away too.
Yes, sir, yes. But it takes seconds for them to capture stuff on that computer. And this email here that looks like it's come from Microsoft, it's from microsoftemail/records.com. If I send you an email from my work email address, which is mwagner@henrycountyva.gov, it's going to be from henrycountyva.gov. If I receive an email from Microsoft, it should be from Microsoft, not Records. So that's some things to look for on emails. But I mainly want to just touch base and say we're really working these scams. People report a scam to Investigation Division almost daily, sometimes multiple times a day. And we start working on them. We try to get their money back. And a lot of times, by the time we get the information, start working on it, their money's already sent to another country. And there's like 5 or 10 people in the middle of it. And we have captured and returned a lot of money to people, but a lot of people are victims that never get their money back unless it's up to their bank. Yes, sir.
I've been getting things called spoofing, where they'll take a number, but the number is associated with legitimate business, but they spoof the number so they can use it to call. I've been getting ones from Virginia Tech, James Madison, but it'll be something odd with the spelling, like instead of Virginia Tech being a capital T, it'll be a lowercase t. And then PCH is another one I've been getting a lot of calls from.
So somebody actually did that to the sheriff's office. Unfortunately, with technology, it's super easy to do that. So I could call you from my phone and make it look like it come from Sheriff Davis's number. It would be me impersonating him, but these people that are committing these frauds, they're using different software to be able to create these spoof numbers and acting like we were calling them when I was telling you about asking for money. So any of those, if you get a number like that, block that number it come from. If you send them any money, report it. We keep a track of those numbers and we report them when we get them to the federal government. They have a team that works on it, and then we try to work them as much as we can until they leave to another country.
I had a call from the bank, told me it was Truist, that your account, it was for the American Legion, your account has been hit and you no longer have any funds in that account. Well, I mean, I've had a heart attack, I almost had one then, but it was a lot of money. But I went straight to the bank. And what they tell me is that when you get a call like that, they cannot hit your money if it's a CD. They have to personally come in to get that money. But your checking account, they can get. You know, so you have to be careful.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that I'm glad you shared that, because everybody could, even myself can learn, is that reminder. Even if we get a call from the bank that we bank with, it could be a scammer.
Yeah.
So hang up and call the bank back on your own and verify. So like I tell people, we need to make magnets. Like when you receive a call, slow down, think about what you're doing. If there's urgency there, it's a good chance it's a scam. If I'm calling you about, hey, something's going on with your account, I'm not going to make you act in the next 5 minutes. If I'm trying to sell you something, it's going to be longer than 5 minutes. So we always try to tell people, slow down, think about what this call is about, what it's for, and then verify it if need to. Call back to wherever it's at, and you'll be fine. A lot of things that's happened with people recently is credit cards. Like they just randomly pick one and say, hey, your Belt credit card is due. First, if you don't have that type of credit card, it's, you know it's a scam, but they're picking that. And if you have one, they're like, hey, if you pay it today, we'll waive those fees. Do you have another payment option that's not on file? And then people are falling for that because it's the minute amount. They're trying to charge like, say, $50 or $75, and it's not the payment, it's the card information they're trying to get.
I say, in handling that money, and I get that call, your emotions go sky high.
Yes, sir.
And you do the stupid thing.
Yep.
Instead of doing the right thing, and, you know, I thought, oh, man, how am I gonna pay this money back?
And that handout I gave everybody, if you look under it, it says some warning signs, and that's the hugest thing. Just like he said, urgency or threats or requests for personal information are to act immediately. And that's, if you see any of those, just kind of remember, hey, this is probably a scam. Before we move on, I'm turning back over to Sheriff Davis or Captain Hines. Y'all have any questions for me about scams or frauds or investigations or anything that I can answer while I'm here?
How did they get your phone?
So it's almost like the lottery for them. How many people in here has got Facebook?
Yeah.
How many people has been talking about, say, a mower, and then you get on Facebook and then it pops up what you're talking about? So that's adaptive hearing by your phone of how Siri and stuff works that use ad support with Google Apps and different things to make that generate on your Facebook. The same kind of thing they utilize for these target scams. These companies sell your ad data, and then they use, like, say, AI technology and computer software. They're dialing 1 million numbers a day. So if they started at 1 through 9 and started, it's going so fast, and they're calling millions of numbers a day. A couple of days, they're going to get through every number that would be through the 276 area code in just a matter of a couple of days. And as soon as the computer starts the call, you answer, then it moves on. So it's not necessarily targeting you, but they use that ad technology to be able to target what they're asking you about. And then once they do that, they just use that computer software to connect the call, and then if you start talking and interact, that's how they get the scams across.
And they're smart enough to figure out, I'm from Michigan, so I still have a Michigan phone number. You know, now that you live in Virginia,
Yep. And I get a question a lot, how do they get this data? We all download apps like Kroger, Food Line, say a bunch of them, all these different apps, so like we get the coupons and different things. But that data is also supposed to be used for statistical purposes. Say during COVID, they want to know how many people walked in the store. If you have a certain type of phone and you get close to Walmart or you get close to Lowe's or type in these stores, the app will automatically notify you that you're there and start giving you ads or based off of your geolocation data and different things you need to buy. And that's how they take that data and they sell it and they get it back to you.
or when you automatically walk into Walmart and you log into their Wi-Fi, you're automatically opening up all their cyberware and stuff that's already in their system, contaminating all their stuff, and you're picking it up and taking it up from Melbourne and all that.
Yep.
All with it.
That's something also to be very cautious of if you're at a public event of connecting to just random Wi-Fi. I could go create a Wi-Fi, push it out somewhere, and then capture username and password. And anybody over the age of 40 uses the same username and password for everything. And then once they stop using the same password, they only use one password, and it's probably on the back of their phone or under their keyboard. So it's already hard enough to keep up with passwords, but that's how they get you. When they capture one password, they can get into so many other things because everybody uses the same password.
Any scams on political?
Very rarely, some because
Republican, Democrat calling, saying, I'm a Republican, and a Democrat getting information,
No.
or vice versa.
not really, not in Henry County, because most of those don't involve a way to send money.
But they want information.
Right, but most time, like the companies there, we don't get them, I guess, because just say if they were trying to sell you something, like your Medicaid premium package, they have a reason to try to sell you something that's such a good deal to get a monetary value, versus those, it's not a whole lot of, like, they can get your information, but without, like, credit card information or check information, they can't get but so much. Because two-factor authentication on these devices now is almost mandatory, which means when you go to log into something, it sends you a text message. So just with your information, it's hard to get a whole lot, but if they get your bank account information or credit card information, it's super easy.
They have one out right now for Trump phone and talk to them, it's an Indian lady or someone from India asking, like, you can buy the Trump watch and different things, and it's a complete scam, because, he wouldn't have done that, he wouldn't have ever authorized that.
But what bothers me about that is, if it's a party or even one is calling to get information, are you gonna vote for Trump, are you gonna vote for a Democrat? That's none of our business. But they're trying to get information
Yeah.
to put on TV to say this, that, or the other, you know, I don't like that.
And you just hang up on them.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that one. Yes, sir.
One thing I've learned is the phone companies, the scammers, they can purchase a block of numbers. And then that gives the scammer a whole range of numbers. That's how this, you get a call from this number, and you block it, then it's the next number, then the next number, next number. So the phone companies are allowed to sell blocks of numbers.
So the companies that sell them, and it's hard to keep up with. But I guarantee you, if I was to take a poll of how many times somebody signed up for something online, just say if it's a new subscription or you're just signing up for a social media account, you get ready to sign up and there's a little box. Have you read our terms and conditions of what you're signing up for? Nobody ever reads the terms and conditions. So in there, it will say part of your information may be sold for ad enhancement. In a lot of the Google apps and different things says, hey, they can legally give your number for ad enhancement. And then what happens is those ad enhancement companies distributes it out for a fee. But now with technology and stuff with AI, it's almost getting away from that and they're just robocalling millions and millions of numbers a day. Any other questions about scams and frauds? I know we could probably talk about them all day, but the biggest thing is just remember, slow down, verify who's on the other line, and don't send any money. Yes, ma'am.
This is different. I know you're mainly focusing on talking about phone and email scams, but I will say that last year, where I live in Ridgeway, the neighborhoods around where I live had a ton of people coming and knocking door to door trying to sell pest control, which none of them seemed legit. They didn't have vans. They were going around with like hoverboards, and they would come in different color shirts. Some of them maybe, but like when you Google the companies, they weren't legit, so be aware of that. But there were some people going around selling solar panels, and that one was legit, because I did get solar panels put on my house. So some of them are real, some of them are not. But the pest control people last fall, there was somebody in the neighborhood like every other day. It was crazy.
Sheriff's going to speak on that.
Let me cover that. There are no legitimate solicitors in Henry County. All solicitors' permits are required to come to the sheriff's office, and as of last summer, we received so many complaints by the end of the summer about college kids, solar panels, vacuum cleaners, you name it. That everything under the sun, that I will not sign any solicitor's permits anymore. If someone knocks on your door, ask to see their solicitor's permit. I can guarantee you they don't have it because I refuse to sign it. In 2026, everything you need is at your fingertips. If you can't get it online, you can go to the store. The vibe I got from the community as a whole is people don't want them knocking on their doors. And I agree with that, because what we have seen through some of these companies, there are some legitimate door-to-door sales companies, however, there are very few. It opens up an opportunity for people to take advantage of people. We saw it with the driveway sealing companies. We had a driveway sealing company doing door-to-door sales. They scammed people on the actual product. At one point, we had a driveway sealing company come through. They would knock on your front door. When you were distracted at the front door, they were breaking in the back of their house. So if anyone knocks on your door to do door-to-door sales, you ask for their solicitor's permit, and they don't have it, because I'm not signing in the store.
Sheriff Dave,
Yes.
what about the people that go to Walmart or out on the street corner and they're saying, need some help, I'm broke, or whatever, are they still authorized to do that?
Much of that activity is protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution, so much of that activity is protected by the First Amendment. So there are some local ordinances, however, they are questionable.
So if you have a vagrant, a person that is a homeless person, out in front of the Walmart soliciting money, That's protected under the.
It is, you can go out here and stand on the side of the road and ask for money all day.
Well, see, the reason I ask that is because the veterans groups will do fundraisers, and there's a group that comes up out of North Carolina and belongs to a multicolored church that says that they are veterans, and they have nothing to do with it.
We know those people to be scam artists. If they're an identified scam artist, I know exactly who you're talking about. They've actually set up at the intersection of Walmart. They've previously set up at the intersection of Reeves Road and Ridgeway. No, that is not permitted under any circumstances.
Because a lot of people, they see the veteran fundraiser and they'll give.
Right.
And
No,
they collect big money, you know.
that's actually a felony. That's called obtaining money by false pretenses. So if we can prove that, then we will have,
If we find one, we can call you off.
yes, absolutely.
It'll be taken care of.
Absolutely. That's different from an individual standing on the side of the road holding a sign. We know those to be organized criminal operations.
And it's fine, maybe one day I'll have to do that, I hope not. I mean, my witness, but you look at them and then I've seen them leave and go get in a Cadillac. And I said, wow, what in the world?
Yes. Yes, we know the organization you're talking about. We've run them off many times. They're actually out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yes. That brings up a good point. He mentioned homelessness. Homelessness is becoming more and more prevalent in our community. And we at the sheriff's office get a lot of questions about it. But really, what it really boils down to as a law enforcement agency is we can only enforce the laws that are set forth by the legislative branch of government. It's not a crime to be homeless under any circumstances.
So basically, like, 'cause this is my experience, this is what's happened to us. Over here in Morningside, there's a couple. And I got on your guys' website and reported it. Came to my door. They were picking up cigarettes on the way to my house and smoking the butts. So you kind of, I mean, you draw your own picture. But then they go, well, we can do this, do this. I just went to the door, you know, I had my personal protective equipment and told them to leave. But they came back and they came back, and so now I have video cameras in the front, I have video cameras on the side, 'cause I own that whole, basically from a trailer all the way down to almost a dealership. And it's getting really dicey there.
If they continue to come on your property, it's actually trespassing. It's a class 1 misdemeanor.
So but I thought you had to post a trespass.
You don't have to post it. All you have to do is tell them verbally. If they violate that, then you go to the magistrate's office and seek a warrant for them. If you call and a deputy comes out, we encounter them, we'll actually serve them with a written trespassing notice right there.
Okay. I just fear because sometimes I'm not home and my wife's got to come out.
Yeah, your private property is your private property. If you don't want someone there, you have all rights to tell them to leave.
If you get the courthouse, they give you a trespassing form to fill out. You know the person's name and their address.
The last time
We'll serve it to them, and that puts them on notice.
The last time that I told them to leave my property and with my PPE, they won't be back.
I'll let you tell them that. Any other questions along those lines? Sheriff's office, if there's someone available, there's oftentimes the possibility for two-way chat with us. So it's just another tool that you can use to get in touch with us. I will say one of the tools I don't recommend that you use regularly, especially in an emergency, is Facebook Messenger. That's not what it's for. So if you have an emergency, do not message us with the Facebook Messenger. Please call 911. You would not believe how many people send messages to us through Facebook Messenger. It oftentimes can go days unchecked. That's not our primary means of communication. And if you message my personal Facebook Messenger, I promise you, it's going to go unchecked. I never check it. So yes, that's for the community. I do not check my personal Facebook Messenger.
I thought you was ignoring me.
Any other questions?
No, The only other question, are we gonna do anything for Morningside? It's like the Autobahn out there.
Speed wise,
Speed wise, yeah, I got cameras sitting there, I could give you camera pictures of cars going by my house at 45, 65, 75 to 120 miles per hour.
so
120 miles per hour
We-
around the twisty curve. I'm from Michigan, so you get the humor of this. The curvy road sign down at the bottom just before the holler.
So we share highway safety with the Virginia State Police. That is their primary function, is highway safety in Henry County. We'll take care of that for you. They don't answer 911 calls like we do. Their primary job is to work accidents and speed enforcement. But we do with speed enforcement as well as a collateral duty when we're not answering 911 calls. To kind of put that in perspective, our deputies answer about 3,000 911 calls for service a month. So.
You guys are really good, so, I mean, it's just the traffic up there. We have a lady that has dementia that walks back and forth.
But absolutely, time permitting wise, when we do conduct speed enforcement efforts, we focus our efforts on secondary and residential communities like this. You're not gonna see deputies out on the bypass. I guarantee you, nobody can raise their hand and say, I seen a deputy run radar on the bypass. The reason being is because we focus it where people live at and where we need them to be safe at. But we share that responsibility with the Virginia State Police, but we will absolutely be glad to help out with that. I get a lot of these calls, and then I get a lot of calls back. And let me explain that. On more than one occasion, I've gotten a call back and said, hey, I asked you to come up here and run radar on my street, but they wrote me a ticket.
Because I was asking for the help, I do not break the law. I have not gone over 55 miles per hour since I've been here.
I'm just telling you, I've had that call before. So.
I do a legal law, 35 miles per hour every day. I make sure. I've had cops follow me from your department.
They'll be like, and it usually starts out as like, hey, I'm the one that asked for this radar. You know, well, you know,
Well, I just almost got killed the other day from a red pickup Ford F-250, probably not 2022. Had the mag wheels on it, put in 22-inch rims. Missed me by that much coming up Blackberry.
unfortunately, it's an all too common problem, not just Morningside, but every road throughout rural Virginia, probably in Henry County. But when we do set up and run radar, it's kind of like fishing. You know, you don't catch them all. But oftentimes when they see us, it will slow them down for about a day or two. Any other questions?
Anything else for Sheriff Davis? You have anybody else to speak?
Sandy?
I don't have anything.
Tim?
You already covered typical one, but also it's Crime Stoppers.
Mr. Flannery? Crime Stoppers?
Yeah, that's another way that Smith tippers do
Yeah.
Crime Stoppers.
Yes.
276-63 crime. You hear it come out of my mouth every time we do an interview. 276-63 crime. You can submit your tip anonymously. You can get a reward up to $2,500 depending on the information you provide, if it leads to an arrest and or conviction. Again, that's not a program that's run by the sheriff's office. That is a program that's run by an individual board. Captain Hines is our representative. He presents the information. The Crime Stoppers Board then votes on what the reward is. All too often, people think because they call in any level of tip, they're automatically going to get a check for $2,500. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. So, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Do you, I know at one time I was in a church where I believe you were there, talking about safety in churches. This day and time, it's kind of difficult to know what's the right thing to do, what we can do as a church. Do you guys still do that? I mean, come to churches and kind of give a,
Sure.
okay.
Not just churches, but any organization or entity that wants it. Myself and several other people in my office are certified instructors for what's called CRAZE, Civilian Response to Active Shooter Emergencies. It's a nationally taught program. We're not going to tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. What we're going to do is we're going to come give you the most modern, up-to-date information on active shooter style events for multiple venues. We're going to explain to you the history of those events. We're going to show you data on them, and we're going to show you in generalities, the most successful methods to mitigate the damage and to survive that. But that is available to your church. It's about an hour-long presentation. It's great. We've probably, in the last 3 to 4 years, trained thousands, I'm gonna say well over 1,000 people at this point. It's a great presentation. It's serious material. It will hit home, but I think everybody should have it. You can reach out, like I said, not just for your church, but also your business, and your civic organization, whatever the case may be. We've advertised that on our Facebook several times. We've been able to get that message out there. It's a good program. All you gotta do is contact myself or Lieutenant Wagner. We'll get somebody out. Like I said, runs about an hour. Be glad to do it. All we need is a place to set up a computer and a PowerPoint presentation.